welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I shall be your host for this evening. And tonight's show it's a bit of a special one. It's almost like a post-match analysis. It's almost like in the locker room. It's almost like I promised myself I wouldn't be using any of these cliche terms. But this one is going to be called Who Are Ya? Who Are Ya? And it's Mark Pearson from London Boardgames. So, hello Mark.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I think I've managed to completely ruin my promise to myself that I wasn't going to be using any football cliches. And the reason that we're using football cliches is tonight we're going to talk about, it is like we said, a little post-match analysis about your Kickstarter game, the football game. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, finished end of October.
Yes.
And about the cliches, I was worried kind of halfway through that I was using too many, but spoke to a couple of backers and they were suggesting more. So
there you go.
You got to take the opportunity when these come to you.
Absolutely. No, we'll just carry on, and if people turn off because they don't like football because it's not board games, then that's just the hit we shall have to take. Now. The reason that we do this is quite simply because there's not enough podcasts out there about board games. And the other reason that we do this is because I don't think I've heard a podcast which combines football and board games, unless it's talking about Subutio, which isn't a board game. So, we're gonna see where we go. As I say, for people that are, if you're listening for the first time, this is going to be slightly different than normal because we're just going to have a little chat, because me and Mark were talking about this, and one of the reasons that we decided to do this was because he has finished his Kickstarter. So, yes, we'll talk about the game itself, but we want to have a chat about what happens behind the curtain in a kind of a Wizard of Oz type style. Who's the man behind the curtain? What
Very
happens
fitting,
after
yeah.
it? And we've gone from the Wizard of Oz to football to cliches and back again. But as we do with everybody, we're kind of really interested in kind of your history, because, as I say, this has become a kind of a catchphrase, I guess. We like to look into the past, we like to stare at the present, and we also like to see what's happening in the future. But we'd just like to find out a little bit of your history about how you got into the hobby in the first place. So if you'd like to, over to you, Mark. First of all, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm looking forward to it. How I got into it. So you probably hear this a lot. It's quite an interesting one, but I've kind of been doing it as long as I can remember. I think the first thing I remember was playing a game called Kingmaker with my dad, who it kind of became a family catchphrase a bit, which was they've got to learn. He would play board games with us with absolutely no mercy. If there was something he could do, age 6, to completely screw us over, to completely ruin everything we'd done, regardless of whether we were even able to comprehend why we shouldn't have done what we've done, he would do it. And then
was he competitive dad, like in the Flash show?
He was absolutely, yeah, exactly. And we
even when you beat him, he's like, right, son, let me show you what you did wrong and where you could have beaten me earlier.
Yeah, so we're all, in the family, we're all a bit competitive now, and I think we know where it comes from.
So,
yeah.
did he steer you away from the normal kind of monopolies of this world, or was that?
No, we played those. We just, I suppose we had a glimpse into board games that a lot of people don't get until perhaps later. We still played Monopoly and Cluedo and Scrabble, if you can call that a board game.
Was he quite
rules
angry
intensive? Here.
Was he?
No, not so rules intensive. But he grew up playing D&D and anything tank based as well. His first love is trains. His second love is tanks and warfare. And so we were playing all sorts of hex based games all through childhood. And a lot of the time it was just kind of we were doing what we were
I
told to do to be the opponent.
I kind of feel old because I think that's the first time I've heard somebody say, "Yeah, well, my dad when he used to play D&D."
Oh, you won't believe it. He had one of the original Prince red box first edition D&D things, and you can imagine what that'd be worth now. And his mum threw it out.
Oh my goodness!
I know, straight on the scrap heap, gone.
That's just no wonder that probably made him the man that he was today. To be honest, I mean, there's no way. I mean, you've got to let that rage out somehow, and I guess maybe
he's fantastic. He's been just awesome growing up, giving us opportunities to do things that we like to do. And so, but because of that, we've always been a very close-knit family. And I suppose that's really how we answer the question of how we got into board games, is that we were always playing games together, whether it be board games or video games. We had a couple of computers linked up to play LAN, myself and my brothers, and we moved around quite a bit as well because Simon, my dad was in the RAF.
Oh, right, okay.
And so myself and my brothers, we didn't have the normal kind of sibling rivalry that you hear about, and perhaps you had yourself. And so it was the norm, I suppose, that we grew up either playing or modifying existing board games and then creating our own around them or based on them. And the same with video games as well. We weren't exclusive to cardboard. We did the same thing in a digital sense.
Cool.
So it's kind of but it was about I have my video game spree, and I'm still super into video games, but it was kind of about the age of 16 that I decided that a night around the table with friends is more rewarding, I suppose, I felt, for me than staring at a screen. So, without sounding old, get the kids off those damn screens.
You've just made me feel very old by your previous kind of "my dad played D&D" phrase. I mean, I've got to watch the time now just to make sure I don't go past my bedtime, and I better throw away this drink and get myself some nice Horlicks instead. So thank you for that very much, Mark. Moving on before I remember, or before I forget even, I'm sure I had these sitting round somewhere. Where have my glasses gone? Oh dear. What have you been? I mean, so that's helped you. So I take it you've played quite a few over the years. Is there anything that you have played? Well, I mean, anything in the past that you would say were your notable games that you'd love to play all the time then?
Notable games that we love to play all the time. Well, less so more recently, but we started playing Ticket to Ride when it came out in 2004. Before it won. God, it sounds like I knew this before it was cool, doesn't it? But that's not what that's not where I'm going with this. I'm saying
hipster board game.
No, this is notable because we were playing Ticket to Ride when it came out in 2004, and my uncle, Tim Pearson, we bought him the game for his birthday, and he was the Great Britain team captain at Essen 2000 and at Spiel in Essen 2004 or 2005.
Yeah.
For the Ticket to Ride competition.
And how did he get on? Did he?
I believe he won his game, but the team didn't win theirs. Let down.
Sake. Great Britain, eh?
Yeah. But I let's see.
Did Ticket to Ride become like a bit of a family favourite?
It did. Yeah. It's a bit embarrassing, but also quite cool for people who are into it. It's been such a family thing. We've introduced so many people to it by having we have a kind of a yearly family camp down in the West Country.
Oh, yeah,
in
okay.
Somerset. Yeah. And we have a Ticket to Ride trophy which has been going for
really?
It's been going for
Family
about 10
trophy.
Exactly. It's been going for about 10 years now. There's a train on a piece of slate, and little plaques go on around the outside, and every year, of course, if you win, we have about we have a large extended family and everyone turns up, so we have about 30 players, and it's my name's not on the trophy yet. But
why not?
If you win, it goes on.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Because I don't know. I'm too kind.
You're too.
I don't. I play the game. I play the game to do my routes rather than to block, and there's a fair bit of blocking that goes on.
Just absolutely no aggressiveness in your style of play at all. Then I mean that's fair.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
But in a Ticket to Ride sense, it's quite difficult to be aggressive. You kind of have to go out of your way or do it accidentally.
So who's the family member that's kind of like known as the vicious one who'll just go all out against everybody? Is it like Auntie Maggie or somebody like that?
No, it's probably my older brother Joe.
All right.
He if there is an opportunity for somebody else to take a route before him, he will go there just in case he needs it. And so often there'll be just his colours dotted around the board, and sometimes he'll run out of trains because he's so busy blocking other people. Yeah, but more recently, we are really, really into. I mean, Ticket to Ride is such a light kind of crossover game. It's kind of part of the crest, the same as Settlers of Catan. It's the same sort of crest of crossover games that are bringing more people into modern board games.
Have you seen Rails and Sails then? Because one of the
we have it, and it's not out of the cellophane.
What?
It's kind of sitting on the shelf.
Why?
Well, we've had so much else to do. We had a Kickstarter.
I know, but we can put the Kickstarter to one side for a bit. You've got Rails and Sails, and you haven't played it. The guys at Dwarf. John will be thoroughly disappointed in you because he's been wanting to play Rails and Sails for some time. In fact, I think he did recently, but you've got cellophane version sitting on your shelf.
Absolutely,
You've become one of the cool kids, haven't you? You've moved away from your trains and you've started doing football instead. I know how this goes. So you've got it, but you haven't played it.
Got it, haven't played it, yeah. You played it?
No.
Well,
but I'm not claiming that I really, really am liking kind of Ticket to Ride. But you've got it on the shelf in cellophane, apparently. Yeah. Is that going to get rolled out at Christmas then? I mean, there's only a couple of weeks left. Ah, fantastic.
Yeah, it is. That always happens at Christmas. The thing is that normally happens at Christmas is Uncle Tim comes over, so it's kind of compulsory Ticket to Ride.
Oh well, that'll be good.
Anyway. Which is good. But it's more recently. We've been super into Quartermaster General. It's one of those games that you play just game after game after game after game of, and we have for the original Quartermaster General we have the alternate histories and the flight expansion. It's just such a good game.
I wouldn't talk too loudly about Quartermaster General because Colin's still waiting for his First World War Kickstarter, I think.
I've got mine.
He's not here. I'd just like to point out it's not like he's hanging around waiting to jump out and surprise me. It's not Thursday night yet. But he did mention it on Friday again because I mentioned, I said, so how's things? He says fine. Still haven't got Quartermaster General though. And I think he says he went as far as. This is the pure brilliance of it. He's always thinking of us. He says, I emailed them to ask about me parcel, and I asked them if they wanted to go on the podcast. I says, but it depends. It depends the wording of the email. Because if it oi, scumbags, where's my game?
Where is it?
Oh, by the way, would you like to come on a podcast that we do? Kind of thing. So we'll see. I've played Quartermaster General.
Yeah.
I've played Quartermaster General an awful lot. Yes, it's absolutely kind of fantastic. Do you want to explain, if we focus on it for a little bit, do you want to explain what it's all about and why it is so magical and people should be playing it, maybe, for a little bit? Yeah.
It's a bit different. Quartermaster General is a bit different because it's built for 6.
Yes.
And there aren't, usually playing up to 6 is a big stretch or simply not possible for a lot of games, or it's kind of an afterthought. And the fact that it's built for six kind of sits it straight as a staple of something you should get out and should play when you have your larger group of gaming friends around, if you have such a thing. And it's such a different thing every time. I think the beauty of it is that it's abstracted to a level that means that you have very few actions. There's a few things you can do. You can play one card per turn, and essentially that's it. But it's the kind of cumulative effect of those cards is such that the entire direction of the war depends on the order in which you play your cards and I suppose how they stack up against the other person's game. And there's a lot of strategy in it. So even though you're playing one card, sometimes you sit there waiting or hoping that your turn doesn't come around so soon because you're still trying to work out the best thing to do. And it feels difficult. It feels like a bit of a sort of a warlike stalemate.
It's stressful. That's why I found with
stressful.
it when we were playing the game, the fact that you had so few things that you could actually do, because you have your normal action cards, and then you have almost like you have cards that you can play which you can then do certain things in order to basically create a secondary action. But what you do is you do that by discarding cards. So it's like if you want to build, I think it's to do with like you got like normal actions, which is like build an army or build a navy, depending on the country that you're in. And then there's certain things that you can do about taking over territory or putting down extra kind of items and stuff like that.
I mean, it's right up my street of games because it is exactly that. It's a game about workflow where you build a set of certain things you can do, and it feels all game. You're kind of on edge because you feel like you're building up to that one big go where you're able to lay 3 armies instead of one, and you're able to smash into Western Germany and then into Berlin as well.
And it's beautifully asymmetrical as well. It's like, for instance, Japan has navies, but it has basically no army. Britain's the same. It's quite a heavy navy presence. Russia is all about its army, but also it's pretty good at, I think, its supply chain and stuff like that. Italy's there just to back up Germany. I mean, there's no... I mean, and that's why in many ways I think when we've played it like 3 or 4 players, and people have had 2 countries to control at the same time. That as well, and that kind of works. That kind of works really, really well.
Yeah. I think stressful is probably one of the right words for it, because while you're building actions that you can do, you're kind of building your war machine all the time. But the problem is that it takes a turn to build that part of the war machine, and then come next go, it may not even be relevant. So it's a stressful exercise of deciding what's relevant, what's the most valuable thing I can do at the moment.
Or you're taking over a territory and you're thinking, this is fantastic, and then immediately after you, somebody plays a card and they just play a land battle and they wipe out your unit, and then you're back to the thinking, I'm now 3 turns away from being able to do anything.
Oh yeah.
And it's victory point orientated, so you do get some people that try and go for the victory points.
Yeah.
You get some people that just go for the total kind of win the war situation, which I've very, very rarely seen. It's usually the whole thing does end up like a kind of a big war of attrition.
Yeah. Well, 1914, the World War One, we were lucky enough to pick up a copy at Essen, and we've played that a lot as well. And that I am actually not decided as to which one I prefer. But 1914 is just, it's a work of art in kind of how stressful it is. It introduces a new mechanic where you prepare cards, so you get to play a card as you normally would, but you also get to prepare a card where you lay it face down, and in the attrition step, which sits after the play step, you can turn over a prepared card to have another power around the table discard a certain number of cards. So it mills the deck much more, and it feels like a massive slog. It feels like World War One probably did, where cause you feel like you're in a trench and you're not moving, and you've got 9 cards face down in front of you, and you can do fuck all, which which is awesome. It's a great experience. It really is.
I just feel like totally kind of like powerless, which is not great. The worst thing about this game is that there's not enough people kind of aware of it. I don't think it has had as much love as it definitely deserves, and I'm glad to see the Kickstarter is getting it kind of in more people's hands. But
yeah, I think certainly the new one will help, because I suppose the way with all games is the snowball effect, and particularly with Kickstarters is sometimes there's a very small fan base and you get very little exposure during the campaign. But as soon as those games get to backers and they play it with their friends often each buy a copy, and then just like with where it's something as simple as Codenames is, simple and brilliant as Codenames is. If I played Codenames, I went out and bought Codenames, and I know the other 3 people I played Codenames with also went out and bought Codenames, and I've played it with. Introduce it to a number of people as well. I know they've been out and bought copies of Codenames, and it snowballs.
Yeah.
I see, because QMG is such a good game, and it really is. If you're listening and you haven't played it, you should. And if you're considering taking a punt on it, you really, really should.
Yes.
It's one of those games that will do well.
We're not telling you should buy it, but it's currently, we're creeping towards Christmas, and if you are that person, that man, that woman or person who is absolutely impossible to buy for at Christmas, and you're struggling to put something down on your list to give people, then if you like your board games at all, and it doesn't even need to be in relation to the theme, if you like something challenging, if you like something that's really going to give you analysis paralysis, and it did that to me many times, I don't think you could go very, very wrong in picking up kind of Quartermaster General. It's a good fun, and I like it, and Mark likes it, and if we both like it, and if you want to be in our gang, then you have to like it, I'm afraid. In the chats that we've had, moving on from 1914 to alternate reality, 1914, 1920s, you have been playing Scythe, and I have been playing Scythe. Now, me and Colin are going to be talking about Scythe in a couple of episodes' time, but very, very quickly, in as few words as possible, what do you think of Scythe so far, the ones that you've played?
Scythe so far, I've played it twice. I think that it is I think it's a very good game. I think it is that's helped a lot by the quality of the components. I mean, the components are, as you'd expect from a Kickstarter that raised as much as it did.
Yes.
The components are second to none. And it's a very interesting game because it's a hybrid between a kind of area control versus engine builder versus resource management versus and so it's a good Euro. I like it.
Good. And that's where we're going to leave that there, because speaking of Kickstarters, let's just jump in there. What made you go from playing to making? Because this is an interesting thing. What made you sit down one day and say, listen, there's these games going up on Kickstarter, there's Ticket to Ride, there's a lot of games going about. I mean, Kickstarter is getting into its own. I mean, there is an entire, almost like an industry now based around the Kickstarter phenomenon. So, Mark, what made you sit down there one day and say, do you know what? I could do this.
Well, making and playing kind of went hand in hand. We were always modifying games and building our own growing up, and this is myself and my brothers, my older brother Joe and my younger brother Will, but they always kind of stayed in the family. But we are football fans. We kind of sit right in the middle of the Venn diagram of board gamers and sports fans. And to our surprise, that segment is apparently a lot bigger than we thought it was. But we've been kind of perpetually frustrated by the lack of a satisfying football board game, and I mean, there's things out there, but some of them take 6 hours. Some of them try to simulate actual matches and get bogged down in some details that perhaps shouldn't be in there. And the problem with sports games and being translated to cardboard is that sports is a complex thing, and if the actual playing of it is abstracted to the extent that you don't feel like you're playing the game, then you might as well be playing anything, and you lose that kind of the attraction to the sport that you had. And if it's too complex, and for the football example, you're planning your tackles and you are jumping for a header and you're doing that sort of thing, then you lose the flow of the game and you lose the narrative. You get bogged down in things that you shouldn't get bogged down in, because the footballers, when they're actually playing the game, they're not thinking about these things, they're just happening.
Yeah. So what made you, I mean, what again kind of, was it just that kind of frustration that fueled you sitting around and saying, actually we can do this, we can take it from an idea and we could potentially kind of take it to market?
Well, yeah, it was not a case of we sat down and thought, let's make one and sell it. It was a case of, we can't find anything that we want to play, so let's make something we want to play.
Okay.
And it was myself and my older brother Joe were kind of sat age, must have been 22 and 24 at the time.
Just old,
on the floor of the living room, sat on the floor of the living room, pushing bits of cardboard about as if we were 12 and 14. And it was about 4 hours into our first prototype of doing it that we thought, this is actually pretty good. We're having a hell of a lot of fun, and the kind of the backbone of the game was there. Was the point, the central mechanic of abstracting the actual playing of the matches out to simulating a season via a league table, rather than playing individual matches. That backbone of the game was there and was engaging enough that we wanted to take it forward. And so maybe another month down the line, we thought, this is good enough that I think other people will probably be in the same position and may want to play this. And so we started doing a bit of research into how we could do that. I mean, we were always aware of Kickstarter. We were users of Kickstarter already. We knew that board games were a big thing on Kickstarter. I mean, they raise more money every year than on Kickstarter every year than
well, that's currently Kingdom Death Monster's currently raising all of the money.
That's done it by itself, hasn't it?
That everybody has currently got.
I've got to open in a tab just out of interest's sake. I think when I last looked at it, just cleared 11,500 backers. It's mad. That's well done to them.
Well done, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at that and thinking, I could buy a lot of sweets for that amount of money. I mean, I could potentially just walk into the sweet shop and look at the thing and say, I'll just have a quarter of everything. Even the rhubarb and custard, yes, give me some of them, and give me all of the midget gems. And I shall have some of I'll take the strawberry bonbons, and I'll also have the toffee ones as well, because let's get a bit fruity.
And I wouldn't normally have the shrimps, but for completionist's sake, let's have those.
Come on, let's live a little, And you could do that, and you could spend it all in sweets, and yes, you would end up probably in some kind of sugar headache hell. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess I never understood the hype before, and I'm certainly not understanding the hype with somebody that goes, "You can get this in 2020." It's like, I might be dead then. I'm just saying, I'm not that old, but I'm quite old, and the chances of 2020 coming around, I might be a bit dead. Yeah, so that kind of. But best of luck. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you can't poo-poo somebody who put up after the last campaign, which came under a little bit of stick, I think, for the length of time I think it took them to deliver, and also there was people that got a bit PC with the way some of the figures were and stuff like that, which I guess was kind of understandable because there was it did get a bit risque with a capital R and a lot of E's in it. So yeah, but they've got all the money, so all power to them. But
they've done what I think a lot of game creators should do is, and it's certainly what we did with the football game is make the game that you want to play, and you can tell that's exactly what they've done by the quality of their miniatures. I mean, they are. I don't know if you've seen them in person. They are just phenomenal.
Yes.
And the pictures on the new Kickstarter are such that it looks like it's promising to be as good. And so they've clearly done it the way they want to do it.
Well, people are doing it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get, because I get notifications from people on Kickstarter saying they've backed the game, this person's backed the game, this person's packed the game, and people aren't afraid of handing over the money. So I mean, they've got faith in the guy, and the guy must know what he's doing after he's delivered. So we'll kind of see what happens. I am intrigued, and I don't know if you can answer this question. How did you manage to get the name The Football Game for your board game about football and not have some kind of IP boy tap you gently on the shoulder and say, "Oi, Mark, this is copyrighted to the moon and back, mate. What do you even think you're doing?" I mean, because your Kickstarter was called. It's like, what are we going to call this game? Well, what game is it? It's the football game. What could we call it? We could call it the football game. Right, let's see if that goes. And so you did that. And as you say,
I mean, the name's been a bit of a double-edged sword. It's simple enough that people remember it.
Yes.
But it's simple enough that if you type it into Google, it probably won't be the first thing that comes up.
I don't know. I think I put in the football game Kickstarter just to have.
It'll come up there,
and it comes up there. I'm not sure about the football game. I think.
But we, as you can imagine, we went through tens and tens of names before we settled on the football game. I mean, we went through so many, and none of them fitted, and it was.
Did you avoid calling it the football game when you first named it because you thought, nah,
we did.
There's no way. Let's not be
against
stupid
it.
here. We're not going to get that,
No, yeah. No, to start with, I was I didn't want to call it the football game, and it came down to, what is it? It's a football game. Well, it's the difference is that we think that this is the game that's missing. This is kind of the satisfying player season in 90 minutes. Football game where you're a club and you capture everything that happens on the pitch as well as everything that happens off the pitch, and so it is about football. It is the football game.
So you did that. And so, give me some of the. Did you come up with other names that you came?
We
up
did.
With?
Yeah.
Give us some of the rejects. Give us some of the
some of the rejects were. Some of the rejects were. We're getting back into cliches. The beautiful game, that was one.
The beautiful game, fantastic.
The beautiful game.
But nobody would have. Maybe people might have got that or not got that. I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple by that name on Board Game Geek.
All right.
And a couple of books, and because that's a reference to Pele.
Yes.
I think. Insert angry comments if I've got that wrong.
That's all right.
The another name is 90 Minutes, and we thought that wasn't obviously enough football.
No.
While it was fitting because a football match takes 90 minutes, and if you play the football game with 4 players, it will probably take you 90 minutes.
Oh, there you go.
It fitted in those senses, but otherwise it wasn't quite there. So it was kind of the football game was kind of the working title for a while, and then it stuck, I guess. But for a while, I mean, there's there's a couple of comments that we get most often. Where one of the really really important things about the game is that you don't need to know anything about football to enjoy it, and I absolutely mean that. We've played it with aunts, uncles, sisters, grandmas who know absolutely nothing. But the game looks at football in a very funny in a very funny sense, and the mechanics are kind of solid enough that you don't need to know anything about football to enjoy the game. I mean, there are so many interesting games out there that are like that. Like Baseball Highlights is a fantastic game.
Oh, I still
I
need
don't
to
know the
play
first
that.
thing
I've
about.
heard so many good things about Baseball Highlights, and it's one of these games I'll look it up, and I'll be like,
Yeah,
"That I've got to get this,"
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'll forget
Same.
about it.
I don't own it, but I've played it, and it's a great game. But I don't know the first thing about baseball
No,
because the mechanics are great. Same with, I mean, think about train games. They're not. Are they really about trains? Not really.
no, I mean, there's that.
But
Was it Kickstarter? There was Tricks to the Rails, which is kind of just about collecting tricks. I mean, Ticket to
yeah,
Ride is kind.
it's it's rummy with
Yeah,
train skins,
yeah.
kind of.
I mean, it's not proper trains. I mean,
Yeah.
but
But I've always thought about games, and it in the sense that if the mechanics are good enough, the people will play the game, and if you like the theme, that is a bonus. And we found that with the football game certainly. I mean, the funny thing about it was just kind of luck that it wasn't that there wasn't one called the football game out there, and it's the same thing with the London Board Games Company. I mean, can you believe that wasn't
I mean,
taken?
see when you sent me the message and said, right, if you email me at this email address, and I was like, right, okay then. Okay, so I got to email some guy at London Board Games for the football game. Yeah, that'll be right. Come on. Do you know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah,
you'll be telling
yeah,
me you like Ticket to Ride next. No.
yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
was like, how did you manage? But then I guess it's the whole thing that if you don't ask, you don't get. So you probably went on there and went,
Exactly.
what, we got, was it kind of like a double whammy? Did you kind of like do a
Yeah,
little high five? Did you went, right, okay, so we've got the board game sorted out, that's the football game, right? Oh, and we can get London board games as well. You kind of having a laugh here.
I think when we've got LondonBoardGames.com,
Hmm.
but I think we were looking for LondonBoardGames.co.uk, and as is the way with a lot of these names, is they get
They're bought.
uh, yeah, they're bought, and I think we were quoted between 5 and 10 grand for .co.uk, and we were like, nope,
Really?
happy with .com.
You're not allowed to do
Yeah,
that anyway, I don't think. There's some kind of law about sitting on domain names and not kind of and try to flog them to the highest bidder, but
I thought it was I don't know about that. I thought it was I thought it was some people's livelihood. I thought it was what kind of their business. But
it was a legitimate exercise.
yeah,
So
um,
how long was it between you? How was it long was it before you were sitting down? You're saying, right, let's make this a board game. To you actually saying to actually getting on Kickstarter. How long was the preparation on it?
3.5 years.
Right.
It was a long time. It was a long time simply because there have been so many football games that have tried and I don't want to say failed, but have tried and not quite hit the mark in terms of what they were trying to do. And that's kind of why we spent so long building and refining and building and refining. And as is the way with board game design, we added absolutely everything in that we could before scaling it back to its
Yeah.
core elements of what made the game work and what was fun and what was a suitable mechanic and what needed tweaked.
Yeah.
And so it was only in. I mean, it took a bit longer as well because I was working on it in the margins of myself being at university up in Stirling in Scotland. So not too far, not too far away.
Not too far away at all.
Yeah, but we kind of didn't tell anybody that it existed until about March this year, and it was just 1 month before the UK Games Expo where we actually revealed it to the public. I mean, when I say we told people about it, I'm saying we created a Twitter account and a Facebook page.
Yeah, okay.
In March this year.
Did you wish you'd done that sooner, do you think?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because designers' diaries are wonderful things.
Yes.
No, because I think with the amount I had going on in terms of university and everything else, I don't think I would have been able to keep up to date with everything, and so it wouldn't have been the page that I wanted it to be. It would have been.
No, completely. It's got to be the right time for yourself at the end of the day as well. Otherwise, it takes you down a different path. You can end up getting too stressed, and then you end up with a product that you'll ultimately rather feel kind of disappointed with. So
earlier would have been better though, because with Kickstarters, exposure is key, and the longer you're about, the more people know about you.
Yes, I'm always surprised at getting we're not big. We're not big fish. We're many things, but we're also not big fish in the the board gaming community. I know that we you and me kind of think first kind of spoke because of the UK kind of Kickstarter page on Facebook, but we even now get kind of emails from kind of slightly strange places that are in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign that are begging for us to kind of make kind of mentions to them. And you're kind of like, isn't that about kind of if you're doing it while you're campaigning, aren't you kind of like a bit a bit late? But the guys that we've done, speaking of one of our own that's had really, really phenomenal success, Kevin Young at Inspiring Games.
Legends Untold,
his is becoming waking up in his house at the moment must be like Christmas Day. Waking up and just realising, I guess the other thing is like having to write another update every day as well. You're just like, guys, can we just not have one day where I've got to think about a stretch goal for today? He's like gonna just go, guys, I've run out of stuff. Just go, leave me alone. Go on. I don't want any more of your money. Go and do that Kingdom Death monster. They want money. They're trying to go for 20 million. Give them your money instead.
No, they. I don't. To be honest, I reckon they're easily going to beat the Kickstarter record. They've been running 2 days?
Yeah, something
3
like
days,
that.
something like that, and they're at X million already.
Kevin at Legends Untold, he's done. He's at 67,000.
Yeah, no, he's done phenomenally well. He really has. But it's such a fantastic, unusual tagline and concept. An RPG, as deep as an RPG and
fast as a card game.
Fast as a card game. That's something that people want.
I think we talked probably about 75% of that podcast was us just talking back and forward. And I think we left like 20% to actually talking about the game, and then 5% was just like saying goodbye to everybody. And that was about it. But he's done kind of well. But he's been doing this. He's been again one of these guys that seems to kind of created a lot of noise and been very, very successful about it. But moving aside back to yourselves on the design side of things. How quickly did you? You've got the idea and you've got it into kind of like pieces of paper and stuff like that. How? In terms of things like putting a designer together, getting somebody helping you with the design side of things, was that a difficult, how easy was it to find the kind of the right look and the feel? Because there's a big difference between getting the mechanics and getting the kind of the look and the feel down of the game.
Well, coming back to the pieces of feedback that we get, kind of the main thing about the feel of the game is that yes, it's about football, but no, you don't have to know anything. Because it's an engaging, colourful, funny game. We always wanted it to be a very kind of family game, and so the visuals had to match that. The visuals had to be oftentimes funny, and they had to be colourful, and we thought we could play about a bit with kind of as a nod to perhaps the footballing comics of the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Roy the Rovers and Cannonball Craig and Match. Raven on the Wing, that sort of thing. We kind of drew them with the slightly caricatured, slightly bobblehead style.
Yeah,
and a lot of people who grew up with those comics and cartoons, actively comment on that to say they kind of really appreciate the artwork. It reminds them, or it gives them a sort of nostalgic euphoria, and often they don't know why, which is interesting.
I'm trying to remember as a young lad, because my brother used to. My brother's like a mad, not mad. That's being awful. He's not. He was a big Man City fan before they actually got.
Jimmy of City is another one.
Yeah. And he had a row of these. He had a row of all the kind of the Man City players, I think, on his desk or on his shelf in his house, and it was the bobblehead ones. So when I did look at the game, the first thing I thought was, "Oh, this is kind of cool. They've got the little bobblehead guys," which was kind of smart. Yeah. Did it take a lot of work to get the ideas from your head into an actual end design?
Well, we have 81 footballer characters that we've settled on.
Yes.
You could imagine. The names are, the kind of name convention is well, rather than being real players, the footballers are kind of the personalities, or the kind of notable personalities and people that you'd find in the world of football.
Yes.
So to name a few, you have the
Bob of the Borough.
Bob of the Borough, the wing wizard, the apathetic attacker, the soaring striker,
Fox
the resolute rearguard, the fox in the box.
Wingback, the it's all cool.
So we had an absolute blast coming up with these names, and some of them were, once you take out the ones that are too rude,
yes,
and you cut down the others.
And you have to watch out for libels and lawsuits kind of heading
exactly,
your way,
exactly,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why none of them are real. While we looked for kind of inspiration in the names of personalities, we absolutely didn't. Yeah, we absolutely didn't draw the players, because that would have been suicide.
No, I know. Yeah.
So yeah, but the getting the ideas down was it was one of these projects that you wanted to jump out of bed and do, because it was exciting, because it developed so much day to day, and because it was different and hadn't really been done in the way that we were doing it. I think I started talking about it earlier, but I trailed off. The two main pieces of feedback we get are probably the one we get most is when people sit down to play the game or see the game, they go, "Oh, football, sports games don't work. I don't like football. Not going to try this.
Yeah, unless
not
it's
going to like this."
Unless it's an orc, beating up an elf or something like that, playing football.
But yeah, so people often who aren't into football often sit down and are skeptical. But when once they play the game, I'm really pleased to say our most common bit of feedback is, "I don't like football, but I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun." And the second most common bit of feedback coming to the name is probably, "Thank fuck you haven't called it soccer."
Oh my!
Because they're all out there, aren't they? You've got Soccer City, Time of Soccer, Soccer this, Soccer that, Super Soccer. Oh, there are so many other games that have named the game soccer in some sort of pandering to, I suppose, in fear of an American market who wouldn't get it.
Yeah, just in case, because we want to sell like a football game to as many people as possible, And the best
But
way
you
to
know
do
what?
that is
Yeah.
to make it in abroad.
Yeah, but you know what? We asked our American friends. We said football, soccer in brackets, game out of Europe called the football game. What do you think? And the response, the you know the universal response was, well, clearly it's a football game.
Yeah.
You know, clearly it's football. Clearly it's soccer and not American football. Like, you know, I can see that. I know that without seeing it. If I know it out of Europe, it's not going to be American football.
Yeah.
Besides, some of them said a lot of the population here love football and refer to it as football. So, you know, there you go. Problem solved. No
Unless they're
problem as
calling
far
it
as they were
foosball.
concerned. They said don't be stupid. Call it football. Don't call it soccer.
Yeah. Well, I did notice
So,
that you've got the Das Fußball spiel.
yeah,
And the first
that's
thing I
for the.
thought, obviously, was Waterboy with Adam Sandler. You'd be playing that foosball, Bobby. That's the first thing that tripped into my head, and then I thought I better put this away and not mention it on the show. But I have, and you know, in many ways, I'm proud I did. So the game went up. There was a good buzz about it. You were really, really quite active on, you were active on Twitter. You managed to get, I think, a bit of interest from, it seems like Match magazine.
Yeah, Match magazine. We had a competition running in Match, where they run competitions for their readership is kind of 16 and under, and we had a competition running for one of their readers to win their face in the game as a footballer. We had some 5,000 entries for that, and Match, has a readership of about 90,000. So that was a big thing for us, was getting in there. Of course, being a magazine aimed at kids, we could not explicitly say that it was a Kickstarter, or that we were asking for money. It was in Match. It was simply be in a football game. Email Match here to enter, rather than this is on Kickstarter. But we were hoping that maybe some of them would Google the game and find out afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, sorry, you were going to say.
I was saying, yeah, we created a buzz. I mean, the kind of the marketing for it was, I suppose, really unusual in a board gaming sense. In that we got reviews done as everyone does. From we got Board Game Brawl to do one, Board Game Hour, the podcast, the Undead Viking to do one, and Board Gaming at Home to do one. We did the normal review thing, but we realised after the UK Games Expo that we weren't necessarily looking to sell to board gamers exclusively. We had so many people turning up. The UK Games Expo did really well, doubling its attendance from last year, and a lot of people that turned up said, yeah, I turned up to just to see what it was about. I'm not into board games, but then I saw this one and it's about football and I'm into football. So we had loads of people come across who turned into backers, thankfully, who played the game, had never played board games before, absolutely loved it, and gave it that initial try because it was about football. And so our marketing was largely outside of the normal board game sphere. I mean, we put articles in fanzines, football fanzines, up and down the country, so match day programs, and
like forums and places like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was, the marketing was a bit unusual, but it was
well, it was effective,
it certainly worked.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly worked. We did well. Yeah, we also turned a couple of big heads. We got Jeff Shreves.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Shreves of Sky Sports to he tweeted about us, and we tweeted at and then had a conversation with Miles Jacobson, who's the studio director of Sports Interactive, who make Football Manager.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay.
So after we tweeted to him, he retweeted our thing, and if anyone can sell a game about football, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. So you romp home. I mean, you set your goal about 15k.
Mm-hmm.
You hit about another 50% on top of that. You ended up just over 21.
Yeah, 141.
How? I mean,
percent.
was there big celebrations? Because this is what you'll hear when it gets to the end of other campaigns that we've talked about. Everybody's like, kind of, yay, you got funded. Now the fun begins. When you get funded, are you like, yeah, well, this is fine. I mean, we're going to get the money through, but we've got to kind of make the things. I mean, when you're sitting there and the money and you're breaking. First of all, you break the kind of the funded target, so you're going to get funded. Do you start? Is that where you start planning? We're going to need manufacturing, or do you already, are you just a case of pressing the go button? Have you already had the conversations with the manufacturers? I'm guessing you've had to.
Yeah, all that is done before. Absolutely, all of that is or at least should be done before. Largely, I mean, you get a lot of Kickstarters whose delivery date varies wildly depending on what stage they're at. We were in the unique position that we had done all of our artwork because we needed the game to be playable to have people who weren't into board games be interested in it. Because and we had spoken to manufacturers and distributors and retailers beforehand, and we had been organising all of that stuff beforehand. And as I'll say to anyone listening, thinking of launching their Kickstarter or who's soon to launch their Kickstarter is, however much you prepare a bit more, because things come up. Like set what you think you can set the time you think you can deliver it in, and then add maybe 3 months onto that.
Yeah.
And I read everything that Jamie Stegmaier has ever written, and James Mather as well, and so the Bible according to the Kickstarter Bible according to Stegmaier, which is where everybody directs you if you ask questions, and so I knew to do that. But even so, there's a lot that comes up that you just don't expect. So it hasn't so far. We're currently in the post campaign sort out, and it hasn't been so much a case of, okay, press the button as I thought it would be.
No.
And certainly, it wasn't immediate celebrations either when we hit our funding goal, because I waited until we were about maybe £200-300 over the funding goal before I started celebrating, because just in case somebody thought they were going to be really funny and cancelled their pledge. I'd released a. Yeah. No, it does, and I'm not saying they'd do it to be funny, but I was saying that if I post an update saying we've hit our goal and somebody looks, and in between me posting that and somebody looking, if somebody's cancelled their pledge and we haven't hit there, then I'm going to look like a tit.
Yeah, there's not. I guess there's not. Unless you guess we're almost at our goal. Well, we kind of hit it. Maybe ? Yes, we did. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the kind of the artwork and preparation of the artwork is kind of interesting. Do you think that sometimes, maybe hitting the target just over and not getting too many stretch goals is maybe a better result than funding for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds? Because it seems that every game that every game that suffers from massive delays, hello Conan, I'm looking at you, seems to be off the back of a very, very successful campaign where what happened was that they got funded, and then they got funded some more, and then they've put together, or they've probably prepared and put out some stretch goals, but then maybe not realise that we then have to get the art. I mean, you mentioned you were lucky you had all the artwork done. Is that a danger that if you become very, very successful campaign, it can really, really skew out the kind of when you're going to get the end product?
It can, yeah, but it depends. I mean, there's only so much you can plan for, and the guys, for example, I don't know if you've seen the campaign. The guys who made what's it called, the fidget cube.
Yes.
I am certain they did not expect to rake in the millions that they have for their fidget cube. But so there's they've kind of been almost radio silent after it happened, because what can you do when you thought you were going to have 3,000 orders and suddenly you've got 2 million?
We're going to add an extra face to the cube. It's going to be a 7-faced cube, somehow.
Yeah,
we'll come back to you. We were going to invent time travel. There's going to be an extra button. Just press it as many times as you want, and you'll travel back in like days, years, and months. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. You're kind of hitting it where it should be. It depends on what you promise. If you get to a point where the danger is that you promise things you didn't want to promise, that you feel like you should keep adding because you have extra money, and then it becomes something that you never intended it to be.
I know.
Then not only do you have the extra work of having to fulfill those extra promises, you've also have to kind of wake up and work on something that you didn't necessarily want it to become.
I mean, you upgrade the box, you upgrade the card stock.
Yeah.
You consider getting kind of proper plastic miniatures. You consider upgrading that, normal cardboard box to an even thicker cardboard box. And it's clear in some places they just don't know, kind of where to go afterwards. Yeah. But I mean, you look like you've sat comfortably above the funding level. So you've got the money. The money's been transferred across. I mean, how interesting have the last couple of months been for you in terms of the production side of things? I mean, are things on schedule, on track, or have you found some kind of unknown issues that you didn't think were going to arise, or didn't plan for, or couldn't have known now that you've started on the production of it?
Well, it's interesting, the kind of the couldn't have known part, because Kickstarter is one of the most, like yourself, I'm a member of a load of the Kickstarter Facebook groups and board game Facebook groups, and one of the most common questions that's asked, and probably the simplest question, is what happens when I hit launch? Because
yes,
as extensive, I suppose, as Kickstarter's FAQ is, it doesn't do a very good job of reassuring you. It's kind of it's almost like you press here to enter the abyss, and it presents you with screens that you've never ever seen before, and options that you've never ever seen before, and you have to learn on the fly what they are.
Yeah.
And then things that you've read make more sense, and some things make even less sense. So yeah, the last few months have been super, super interesting in terms of actual game design and especially on the manufacturing side, actually, because when you start costing things and looking at how things are produced and why they're produced in a certain way, you start to appreciate more where games perhaps have gone the extra mile, or have added the extra 20 pence per box for this or that, or this extra card stock. And I find myself completely geeking out. I've opened up a couple of games that I and looked at the components that I had never considered doing before, but opening up the games specifically to look at the components, to see what they've done, and just appreciate them for the decisions that have been made in making them. Things like cardstock thickness. It sounds really sad, but now when I start a game, the first thing I do is look at the size of the card. Is it black, or how thick is it?
It's almost like that business card scene in American Psycho kind of thing.
Yeah.
When he's going, he's like, it's eggshelled off white with a 500 milligram thickness. I'm getting like flashbacks now. I can hear myself. Yeah, I can hear myself. I feel ashamed. You can't help it though, because I feel
a little bit kind of, I feel good about it because I appreciate the work that the kind of invisible work that the designers put in and the decisions they made that you might not see. And even if I don't write to them and say thanks for the extra 5 milligrams of thickness and the linen finish, I appreciate it. Exactly, yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm actually probably more likely to buy their games in future. Where I find little things like that. One game recently. I mean, we talked about Ticket to Ride, but that's not that. It's not. Ticket to Ride's been kind of a family thing. It's not really my kind of game. And so my favorite sort of game is a game that's about kind of workflow and I have a background in database building and product development and sort of data management. And so my favorite sort of game is a game that has a great workflow. I mean, like Dominant Species. That's a fantastic game for kind of the logical processing of what happens before what and when you should do what.
Yeah, I mean, Scythe's like that as well because
Scythe's like that as well. Yeah.
Have you ever played Forge War?
I haven't. No.
Have a look at that. That's very kind of like a series of mini games that allow you to build up to an end based on resource management. We spoke about it a good couple of episodes ago now. But yeah, that's very kind of resource management based, working towards a kind of a common goal. In terms of like, see when you get a stretch goal and you're calculating the stretch goal, I mean, people say, okay, if we reach this, we're going to get X amount. I take it you've got to balance up the number of extra backers you get based against the actual cost of the game itself. It never sounds to me that people who are kind of doing lots and lots of stretch goals are making lots of money off the back of a Kickstarter campaign. It never sounds. You never get the You get the impression it's like there's a joke in a Terry Pratchett book called Masquerade, and bear with me on this. And the guy says, well, I'm counting it up, and he says, and what we're going to do with all this extra money? And he says, well, we just put it back into the opera. And he says, but that doesn't work. What about profit? Profit? No. He says, what happens is the people come in. They pay for tickets, they give us money, and the money goes into making more opera. He says, what about the rest of the money? Oh, that's opera as well, and anything else. It sounds to me like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of people that are sitting there when they hit like maybe double their funding target, sitting there going, whoa, this is us in the money now, kind of thing.
No. Well, yeah, like, it's absolutely right. Kind of the Terry Pratchett opera piece is quite fitting, I suppose, in that the way it works generally is if you properly cost your stretch goals with your manufacturer, and if you don't, that's where a lot of delays happen.
Yes.
And where a lot of Kickstarters don't deliver is if they completely overpromise and then find out actually how much that cost.
Yeah.
But it is a case of, when you hit your stretch goal, the conventional wisdom with Kickstarter is to set your stretch goal at your minimum production run, like the minimum cost your minimum cost to make your minimum run of the game.
Yes.
And so, of course, as the number of games, as your campaign total rises, you're getting economies of scale because, of course, with every game produced, every game becomes cheaper.
Yes.
And so you're balancing stepping up those manufacturing runs from perhaps 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000, and you're giving it usually a little bit of a lead up to a stretch goal, because, say, when we hit 20,000, for example, we added the we upgraded the money away from, which a lot of people rejoiced at, including ourselves. Away from paper money to kind of thick
It was
thick.
wads of cash,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Look at my
exactly.
wad. Look at my
What's that?
wad.
I mean, what's
Didier
super on
Drogba.
theme? Super,
Sitting in his
super
car.
on theme. Yeah, super on theme for a football game. Exactly. Yeah. What's this?
What's
It's my
this?
money.
It's what's this? He says, why you got $6,000 in cash sitting in your car? Because I can. That's what he said. Because I can. And the guy just looked at him and goes, sort your hair out, mate. But yeah, I can imagine, because it becomes less of a question of board gaming and making board games, and then you're entering into manufacturing and logistics.
Exactly.
And I have seen, you do hear about the people that they do really, really well, and then they can kind of become a bit unstuck, because what you forget is if you have 1,500 backers, then that's 1,500 parcels you've got to send out with an extra weight that might cost extra postage. And then, have we spoken to the logistic? We've spoken to the manufacturer and we've sorted them out for 1,500 copies, which we are going to now get at roughly the cost price plus, £2.50 or whatever, plus all the upgrades. But now we've got to spend X amount of money getting that post out, because if we go over like a box, I mean, I know a little bit about postage logistics because I'm sad and it's part of my job. But you're moving up from having like a small packet to a large package and stuff like that as well. Yeah. I mean, I got the Others 7 Sins sent to me, and the thing came in a 2.5 foot high box.
Man.
And it
2.5 foot.
It was roughly. I was just because I got this thing delivered in. I was like, I don't remember buying a car seat. And kind of opened up and went, oh, okay. And it was just full to the gunnels. But
how good is that feeling though?
Well, it's just like,
you don't know what it is, and you're like, oh yes, this is the day. Things. Here it comes.
They're the best.
I can't imagine what that was like when Conan delivered.
I think what happened was there was a lot of
2 years.
Yeah, I know, but was there not like a lot of like people opening up camera app on their phone, opening up the car, opening up the box and taking pictures, and then stick it on the Board Games for Sale page on Facebook, because that thing has been inundated with folks saying Conan pledge £200, want rid of it.
Absolutely, yeah. No, waited too long. Don't want to play it anymore.
I've never seen like so much kind of buyer's regret. And
well, it's the same. Oh, it's not the same with Kingdom Death Monster. But now that we have 1.5 coming out, I've seen a lot of people with the original who went for the original kind of $1,000 pledges, sticking their original pledge for sale.
I've seen that.
Trying to turn it over.
Yeah, we've probably seen it on the same page. It's been like the one that the guy that's like. But it was interesting because I think the guy started it off in saying it's 950 or something to collect, and then it was like 1,050 to post it because of the way I'll be posting it to people. And then I've seen it recently, and it's gone down originally to about, it's now £800. I reckon I could get him down to about £15 if you just leave it a month or two. I'll tell you what, I'll do 14 cash. He'll be biting my arm off. But 14
cash, a curly whirly, and a Malwan.
Well, no, I don't know. Curly whirlies are more than £1 now.
I know. Don't
that's a whole
don't offer him a Freddo.
They're not even 10 pence.
I know.
It's like, I remember that. It's like 10p.
I'm sure I've seen them 30p recently.
I was just like,
penny sweets are not penny sweets.
Listen, when I grew up, you got half-penny sweets.
Oh, there you go.
You used to be able to go in and you used to have a tray, and it's like, which ones are these? It used to be a penny and a half-penny. Not nowadays when you go in, it's like, how much for the drumstick, mate? £52. Are you actually having a laugh? And it's not even one of the nice ones, it's one of the bubblegum flavour ones, so just get out with it. So with as I say, with the fun, with you now kind of working in the manufacturing side of things and turning into logistics manager and manufacturing guy.
Yeah, you can kind of suffix my name with all sorts of.
It must look fantastic on your CV if you're going for a job, kind of thing. What's your ideal with manufacturing?
Well, I'm just gonna hope they don't they don't ask because I see you've been a logistics manager, and what job was that at? Oh, I was
Yeah.
producing my board game. And I see you've run a marketing campaign. What job was that at? And that was at my board game.
Yeah, but just look for if they're just look for the pictures around the walls, and if they've got any football ones, you can just go. It was for my board game, my football board game, and just bring it out and go and just let them go. Yeah, you're hired, mate. Come on. You're sorted out. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Unfortunately, the game's right at the 2 kilogram limit, and so I know a number of designers, funnily enough, for the smaller game, for smaller games, carry a copy around with them. I don't think I'll be able to do that and just kind of whap it out when I want.
You'll end up chucking at them, actually smacking them in the head. There you go. Hey, here you go. It's my board game, my football. Vroom, clunk.
Yeah. Yeah, bang.
And then
that's one of the things. That's one of the things about it actually is the weight of it has been a real kind of point of contention in that shipping over 2 kilograms worldwide becomes a nightmare, whereas under 2 is pretty relatively easy, and so we had to be really careful, because the other thing that a lot of people didn't realize about the game was that it is a really large game. I mean, it's got over 300 cards, four game boards that are A3 sized, 5 if you include the A4 league table board, custom dice, custom meeples. It's got a 50 odd tokens. It's a heavy game, and it was kind of a mini point of panic when I was preparing the Kickstarter, and I realized actually how heavy it was, because I know the scale of the problem when the weight gets out of control, and it's I didn't want that unwanted angry letter from the post office saying you promised this much.
You promised this, and you've constantly over delivered. You need board games that go on a diet. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you at the point now where how far away until you get like a fresh mint manufactured copy sitting on your door?
We are at the point where we are just finalising files to send them away to the manufacturer.
Okay.
We have had more to do on another side of things than we thought we would have to do.
Yeah.
And a couple of things have come up which have kind of not put us off schedule, but certainly mixed the schedule around. So we're doing some things before we thought we would be doing them, and doing things that we thought we were doing first later. And so we are, I suppose we will pretty soon get a mint manufactured copy to the door, probably in about I imagine in about a month's time, which would be amazing.
You excited?
And it's exhilarating actually getting a copy of your own game. And we first did it for the UK Games Expo. I'm sure I've told you when we chatted before that we only booked into, because we waited so long to make sure the game was right before we released it to the public eye. We booked into the UK Games Expo about a month to the day before the UK Games Expo was on.
Yeah, you did.
We were one of the last to book in, simply because we could not be sure until then that we would have our games.
Yeah.
And we'd booked a fair amount of space so that we could demo all weekend, and we received the games with 2 days to go. So they were about, and they came by
squeaky
next
bum
day.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. They came by next day DHL, so they were 3 days off the print before people were playing them, which was just mad.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it was amazing opening them up first time, but you can't help but see things that you want to change immediately. When you get in the prototype,
because it's your baby.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
you love it, and therefore you will find you'll probably find fault in it, or you'll probably dislike bits kind of straight away. I mean, going forward, are there other kind of games going to be coming out? I mean, you have to, haven't you? I mean, it's the London Boardgame Company.
I know we can't get that name and then sit and watch it rot.
I know.
We gotta, but yeah, certainly the intention of the success of this. Certainly, the intention is to continue producing board games, and as you'll know from speaking to a number of designers before myself, you'll I don't claim to be any sort of seasoned designer. I am a first time designer, along with my elder brother and dad who helped me make the game. We all have 5 or 6 projects on the go at any one time, and it's interesting talking to people, because I was talking to Peter Blenkarn, who you had on recently.
He's going to be I think he's going to be released.
Ooh.
That's
all right. We can cut that.
No. He's going to be he's going to be out over the next couple of weeks, because it's coming up to Christmas. So I don't want to be recording every week. So we're going to have a little kind of flourish of people that I have done in advance. And Peter, we will be speaking to Peter. So.
Well, I was speaking to Peter, and he was talking about the game, the projects he has on the go as well, and he was saying that when you're making games, everybody kind of has one really big project that they really want to do, but you have to be really careful about what is your next game, because if you go for the really big one straight off, it will, you'll have creator's curse. It will probably not be the game that it could be, or in trying to perfect it, it may never happen. So the big game might not be the best one to produce at the time. And certainly a lot of games that you get and you're enthusiastic about and that you love and want to produce, other people just don't get, or the market for it isn't there. That means you shouldn't make it, or that you should make games with a view to sell them. That's to say that regardless of how good you think it is, it might not be that good.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, for everyone that I've seen which has done phenomenally well, there are a couple that you feel sad for, that they struggle along and they end up missing that final kind of target. And it's a question of them regrouping and kind of starting again. But I guess just to say to you, if you haven't put something out there by this time next year, I will be having words, Mark, because the football game was certainly kind of lit a bushel under a couple of people. There's a lot of interest. It's brilliant to hear it's kind of coming along, and that you'll probably get your hands on a lovely shiny copy in time for Christmas.
In time for Christmas next. I'll get I'll get one. Yeah.
But everyone else, well, you'll get your Kickstarter updates on a regular basis, so you've got no reason for concern. Going forward, though, if people want to, if people listen tonight want to kind of keep an eye on yourself, what's the best way to kind of stay in touch? Are you on the Twitters and everything like that? Yeah,
on the Twitter, but the handle isn't exactly an easy one. So perhaps in the link would be best.
Yes, okay.
For that, if we're doing that.
Yeah.
You could, if Facebook is a good one. We're pretty active on Facebook, and it's a freer space to store images than Twitter is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So the Facebook is simply the London Boardgames Co.
Cool.
If you search for that, you'll be able to find us on there.
And we'll put we'll put a link in the show notes as well. Anywhere else? Can we get you any other social spaces?
Our website, londonboardgames.com.
There you go.
We have that up. But Twitter's a lot of fun as well. It's much, it's easier to update than Facebook is because it's, people describe Twitter as a lot of people talking to themselves in a room, and I suppose that's what it is in a nice way, because you can just get out the phone and tweet something and feel like you're not performing for an audience.
Yeah.
It feels like you have to write a Facebook post, whereas you just tweet.
I know. We should be stopped from tweeting on our account because the nonsense that we come out with. I mean, if you want to, obviously, if people want to keep an eye on what we're doing here, we are on Twitter as well. You can find us. We're Not Wizards. We're on Instagram, and We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Facebook on We're Not Wizards. We're on things like Acast and Stitcher. We're also on iTunes as well. And if you have enjoyed what you've heard tonight, and I don't see why not, because Mark has been a fantastically interesting guest, obviously, if you want to give us a review, that would be fantastic. If you want to subscribe, that would be even better. If you do want to give us a review, don't give us a 10, because that'll make us feel big-headed, and don't give us a 0, because that'll make us cry. Maybe sit in the middle and give us just maybe 5 stars. That'll be the best way forward, and that'll keep us happy. Mark, thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. I'll keep you updated in things that we're making.
Oh, yeah.
I know we've brought a lot of people into board games with this, and that's kind of, hopefully that'll happen going forward. So I know a lot of people's first point of entry into board games will be the London Boardgames Company, because they will have been attracted by football and hopefully explore past that. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
And is there anyone else you would like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, there is. Stuart Garside of District 31. He recently did Ember from the Ashes, which is it's probably one of the, in terms of artwork, it's probably just one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. It's simple, clean cards which are so colourful and great to look at. I backed his recent Kickstarter. Simply to give a copy to my girlfriend and play the game, of course. Lewis Shaw.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Same with Peter Blenkarn. Awesome people. I'm sure there are others I'd love to give a shout out to, but
I think everybody
they escape my mind. I apologise. The
people kicking about the Kickstarter community, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, Paul Spencer as well. Paul Spencer of well, he's just launched Nothing to Declare. It's Appalling Games, which I'm a big fan of the name, because he's Paul.
Well, if there's any links that you want to throw our way, we will make sure that they are added for the show notes, that everybody can look and read and act upon. Now, remember, this is the last bit, so let's concentrate here. That we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Mark?
We're not wizards.
We're footballers, Mark. We're putting one in the back of the net.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, don't say that. I'll cut it out. Yeah, well, remember. But listen, no, thanks again for coming on. It's been fantastically interesting, lots of good fun. And I guess to cap it all off, it is a goodbye from Mark.
Goodbye.
And they think it's all over.
It is now.
It is now. I had to. I know. No.
Fantastic.
Okay, it's a bye from me for now. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and we look forward to speaking to you again on We're Not Wizards. Bye-bye.